Squirm Squad deploy for Part 9 of Gears of War.
Let's roll, baby.
Dude, I'm always ready, but I missed the card already.
No, too. Dom is more like a Dom.
I don't know, dude. Dom's toys. And besides, I remember the 90s kid voices since part 1.
Okay, let me put it like this too. Marcus is the sarcastic one. Dom is more like the down-to-earth guy. Cole is, well, the Cold Train. That speaks for itself. and Duets is Carmine, meaning he's just here to die.
Oh,
gee, nice to know you guys think so highly of me.
Besides, Dweebs, wearing a red shirt is very important for the team. You need to wear it with pride.
well, dudes, just think about it. It's like in Red Planet, where the British actor dies first.
Sorry, the recent Star Trek movies have tried to debunk that whole red shirt thing.
I've actually heard this say.
Because they changed the actual uniform colors.
Dude, it's a locust, not a girl.
Apt metaphor to be apt.
Ooh, I got some on me. Now I've got cooties.
If anyone is hurt by that, sorry. What else can I say?
So.
What else can I say? No, here we go. We'll all get down on our knees and we'll say sorry. We'll combine our rages and that's how many times we'll say sorry.
Oh God.
Okay. Well, actually, it won't be that many. Yeah, I'd say it would be about 90, 70.
Probably somewhere in that area.
Oh yeah, but here's an interesting thing, by the way. Might as well mention this. As the original trilogy goes on, the Lancer has less max ammo. Like in this one, it's 550 bullets max. In the second game, it's a bit less, and by the time we get to the third game, the Lancer can only carry 420 bullets at a time. It's weird. Why would you? I guess they thought the Lancer
challenge balancing.
Well, I mean, as time goes on, bullets get fewer because all the weapons-making factories are gone.
Well, no, the idea is not that, Waves. It's the idea that the maximum capacity that a weapon can carry.
I guess the idea is that they would make the Lancer more compact, I guess, to fit better on a soldier's belt or back.
With less ammo, though? That's weird.
Well, basically, James, is the thing. If you make a gun more compact, that means that it can hold less.
It's funny, Waves. The Mass Effect had an entire debate over that because the first game used, instead of actual ammunition, a charging system, an overheat system for any kind of weapon, which was more balanced. It meant you didn't need ammo clips. Apparently, well, Bioware didn't, or EA didn't like that because for Mass Effect 2 they introduced the actual, clips, removing completely the, hold on.
Control, this is Delta. We're on the drilling platforms.
Copy that. Sending platforms down now. Once you're in the mine, you'll need to find the pumping station and plant that resonator.
This really is like an amusement park.
Yeah.
I want to be there when the krill come back.
It's go time, baby.
Thanks, Skull.
Darkest before dawn.
In brightest day and darkest night, yeah, you know the rest.
Well, actually, the darkest before thing, if you replace Dawn with Twilight, you get the first part of a nuke everything spell from the Slayers anime. That's where I know it from.
Yeah.
Stinks down here. There's krill shit everywhere.
Good to know.
Yeah. Interesting comparison, Gribbs. Now I'm imagining a scene in Gears of War story where there's a bunch of locusts playing grab ass in the woods, like in the moon. No, I'm not kidding. For anyone the others who hasn't seen it, there's literally a scene in Twilight New Moon where the werewolves are playing grab ass in the woods for some reason.
It was
Really,
a quirky time for them.
But no, what I was saying is for ME2 they completely removed the overheat system and instead placed as actual ammunition, and fans didn't like that at all. So what did BioWare did in their generosity in Mass Effect 3, not just for this, mind you, but in Mass Effect 3 they introduced a character or it was like before, but in this case they accentuated in Mass Effect 3. But he's essentially, Commander Shepard's biggest fanboy, and he's an over-stereotyped representation of the fans, which complains about everything. And among other things, he mentions about the clips and how they make no sense compared to other system, and the argument ends basically with a shrug on both parts.
Yeah, are you sure I'm meant to be feeling sorry for BioWare because of the developer of Mass Effect 3 if they're doing
No
stuff
one's
like
asking
that?
you to do
No
it.
one's asking you to. Okay, for as much as we do like Mass Effect the trilogy, for as much as we do like Mass Effect the trilogy, it can't be denied that the trilogy itself did have issues, and one of those was how BioWare kind of overreacted to feedback here and there. Like one of the bouts of criticism was the exploration in Mass Effect 1, particularly with the Mako. So you think, oh, they'll just improve the exploration in the Mako, exploring all these different worlds. Nope, they removed the exploration pretty much. And it only came back in Mass Effect Andromeda, and we all know how Andromeda was.
Even series that are far worse off than Mass Effect don't stoop that low. I mean, when it comes to, I think it goes two ways. Developers insulting the fans and fans insulting the developers, I feel like is equally bad. One way because it could end up alienating fans. The other way because it could end up causing the developers to lose concentration or feel real bummed out.
When it comes to Mass Effect, it was definitely more a case of... Yeah, when it comes to Mass Effect, I won't deny that it was more often BioWare who acted more like the children compared to the fans, especially regarding Mass Effect 3.
I haven't played any Dragon Age games, but I don't know how's the situation there.
Well, what I said was more in general, really.
But yeah, I was just regarding what you had to say about Mass Effect. Anyway, Pedro, you were saying?
I was?
Well, you can tell me, if you don't remember anything, you can tell me, is Anthem still dead?
Oh, Anthem! Yeah, it's...
Put it this way, I saw...
Anthem died before he was even born.
I mean...
guys,
Wait, hold on.
Put it this way, guys. I saw a brand new copy of Anthem going in shops for like £5.
He's not wrong. I've seen it for as low as $4.99.
This part will be made public anyway, so...
You and Cole are gonna have to find an alternate route.
Naturally. Alright, we're moving.
We'll see you there.
Let me put it like this. There was a what happened of Anthem about a month after that game came out. The game was dropping in price less than 2 months after it came out.
It took longer for I swear it took longer for Mighty Number 9 to drop to £5.
Yeah, I know, right?
Well, that's mostly because Deep Silver is responsible for all the bullshit. Compare these to EA is tricky because there are two different types of bad things.
BioWare is like a sad declining story. Like the first lot of trouble was Mass Effect 3, and the problems that game had, especially the ending. Then we thought, oh, they'll redeem themselves with Mass Effect 4, or at least what we thought to be Mass Effect 4 at the time, which turned out to be Andromeda. That turned out to be a game that sucked, but it was made by their B team, so we thought, oh, surely their A team will make the better game. Nope! We were wrong. Their A team made the worst game.
Apparently, the only series where they managed to be consistent for the most part, I heard that the second set is not that great anyway, is Dragon Age. But again,
even that series had its own fair share of bit of issues.
I don't know exactly how it is, but
let me sum it up. Dragon Age was a game series that for the most part handled out okay, but you could tell that it was getting a bit stale with how BioWare did stuff. Like, it was so obvious, oh, sort of Mass Effect, but in medieval settings.
To bring this a bit
right, yeah,
more
back to this.
Into context. That's another. That's one thing that was the big issue. Like with when Bungie stopped working with Microsoft, and eventually Epic Games also stopped working with Microsoft. Microsoft, instead of trying to do something like instead of buying the gear right, what they probably could have done is actually create a new one, like a spiritual successor, instead of just constructing a new studio from the ground up, specifically for the purpose of continuing the series, because that usual like continuing a series like what I know that Rod is there, but as demonstrated.
Why couldn't they ask Crytek to continue? I do believe. Yes, yes, Pedro. I do believe they had the right cards to play for a series like this. Remember, they're responsible for the Crisis series, a very much more competent FPS series. So,
I guess, well, Crytek at the time.
To be honest, yeah, at the time we were still working for EA, so I wonder.
Yeah, not to mention when it comes to Microsoft-related aspects, they were working on Rise.
I guess in terms of creating a spiritual successor, one does have to wonder, like, well, okay, when you make a spiritual successor, you definitely need something to keep it very familiar with it, and like, well, in order for the gameplay to be similar, you probably would want that original developer on board. Otherwise, you're just pretty much making a different game series.
And at that point, Jova, you might as well just have sequels to the original anyway.
Yeah.
It's not even so much. It's not even just that. Like, it's also the problem of something like specifically the Bungie free industries scenario. Like, because I actually saw recently a video about the made by a Halo fan about how free industries doesn't understand Halo, and he even shows behind the scenes footage of both companies back to back to demonstrate the difference. Basically, he shows a clip from one of the designers of Bungie back in the Halo days, and he says Master Chief is basically an avatar for the player and all that stuff, blah blah blah. blah. He's not meant. He's meant to be a Link, but again, much like Link from the Legend of Zelda, basically. And then he immediately shows right there. He edits out to a clip from an employee from Free Industries. Saying, oh, Master Chief is more than just a hospital helmet. He's a human and he's frail and all that. So basically, the fact that they're trying to pose Master Chief as a full-blown, fleshed-out character of his own means that they don't understand the series. Like the fact that we have two developers from these two companies, specifically the company that created the series and the company that is now making the series, and they're saying the complete opposite about the main character. That if that doesn't show a problem, I don't know what does.
Okay, to 343's credit, it is possible to make a character a link to the audience while also making them a fleshed out character. The problem is that the problem was of course the execution, mind you. That and trying to make Master Chief the bad guy supposedly.
Okay, enough with the
Oh, Dom. You have no idea how much that's gonna happen in your life.
We're off our route.
You were saying, Paige?
We'll all keep moving. If you get to the pumping station first, you'll guide us in. Deal? Deal.
Good.
Yeah, no, I understand that. It's just that at the same time, it really goes to that's the thing. But remember, the story of Master Chief being the villain from Halo 5, that was never the actual story. That was just the story that was sold to us before the game came out.
And that is part of the problem too. Like, you know that's a story that people aren't really going to enjoy for many reasons, but just still run with that, even when that's not even really the story from the get-go. Oh god.
Well, honestly, Drova, I have never seen, as far as my memory goes, so I'm probably potentially forgetting something. I can't remember a single game that I played that was a sequel to a property that villainized the previous game protagonist in a very effective way without pissing the fan base off.
Like, you know, there is a way to do that sort of stuff, but yeah.
Prototype was.
Oh god.
Well, to be honest, that was a problem because of Activision meddling with. God, I forget the company.
Okay, we're running out of time. We gotta split up.
The same guys who did, for example, the crash of the Titans duology.
Oh, Radical Entertainment.
Radical Entertainment, thank you. Yeah. Prototype 2 was the game that basically led to their ruin. Mind you, it's not like it ceased to exist, but now it's pretty much a shell of itself. It doesn't do anything nowadays.
I think one of the series that did that actually well was Tekken.
I guess, yeah, technically speaking, I guess, because, well, to be honest, Kazuya was never sold, even though it was promoted in the first game as the Ryu equivalent.
And supposedly the protagonist.
There was never the idea of him being a complete good guy with the whole devil gene and all. So when Gene actually had to step in 3, things were ideally going through the fact that now Kazuya was the bad guy and all. But with the more recent chapters, it's pretty much clear that every single member of the Mishima family is an asshole, no matter what.
Even
but I guess,
Jin.
but I guess, yeah. Sorry, Jova.
I was saying, even Jin.
I actually did not.
Honestly, even Gene was honestly, I did the closest thing to a legitimately good person in the series. I think maybe one of the minor characters like Paul. But no, what I mean is the fact that I guess in that case it worked for having a previous protagonist being villainized. So yeah, I guess never really was faulty like that.
I actually thought it worked. The way they did it in Physics and the World was fine, since they make it so that there's a vilification of the protagonist of the original game. But it is a fake out, yes. Turns out that's not even that's a complete lie being orchestrated by the villains, basically. So that worked, but the game takes its time before it reveals that it's a fake out to keep you in suspense.
Oh, what about Castlevania Symphony of the Night?
Well,
I guess that's true, but to be honest, Joma, with Castlevania game, mind you, Symphony of the Night was the game that started being a more heavy plot. Not that the previous game did not have it, but Symphony started to build it up a bit more. But I don't know, considering Dracula was associated with trickery, I was not believing from the get-go the idea that Richter was supposed to be the villain. And mind you, there is a lot of... It's not presented to you directly, there's a lot of doubt, and then right in Dracula's problem there, it's told to you that Richter is now probably supposedly the bad guy. And even then, if you did your homework, you can find immediately that it's not like that. So thankfully, it's a blink and you pass it moment.
I guess special mention should go to the Lord of Shadows timeline, where technically Gabriel Belmont started off as a good guy.
Honestly, again, Jova, I get a lot of the... I still can't wait actually to record those 3 because for some Mirror of Fate I have all of them. Because I do get the hate that this kind of reboot gets. But I do believe it's similar to what Metroid Prime Federation Force does, mostly because of bad timing. I do believe if we got classic Castlevania games alongside Lords of Shadow, it would have been more mitigated, because in their own merit, as a God of War clones, the Lords of Shadow games actually do work quite nicely. They have an amazing presentation, both visually and thanks to the score. The voice acting is superb. Again, Robert Carlyle as the protagonist literally sells me.
Yeah.
Patrick Stewart is there for a supporting role in Hams every 2 seconds.
Yeah, I'll admit, I was shocked to see Patrick freaking Stewart in a Castlevania video game.
And the second game gets a couple of other people, like the character who plays Robert Stark, I think, from Game of Thrones. But go on, Pedro.
Well, Joe, if there's one thing the Emoji movie showed to us, is that there's nothing Patrick Stewart would say no to.
Yeah, sadly. But yeah.
But again, and the mechanics of what it has in gameplay helps it also differentiate it a bit from God of War 2. God of War in general. I do believe Lords of Shadow 2 goes a bit too far in some aspect, particularly regarding exploration, which becomes a bit more tricky in some parts, and towards the end it kind of loses itself, mostly because I do believe Mercury's team at that point was starting to get pissed off by how Konami was behaving, and I don't really blame them. But again, all in due time, just keep those in mind.
I actually like the premise of the Lord of Shadows timeline. Oh, sorry, Pedro, go on.
Yeah, watching this footage again, this is another thing that I'm noticing now. The period where you wait so your health will recover is longer in this first game than in the sequels. It's
early installment weirdness and all.
these minor details that really make the sequels better. It's like there's just this is a sense of unrefinement, yeah. But that begs the question though. So what hurts more, Patrick Stewart in the Emoji Movie or Abe Vigoda in Good Burger?
Patrick Stewart in the Emoji Movie. I could actually get enjoyment out of the Good Burger
I
movie.
never a real big connection with Good Burger, so I have no idea what he talks about. Second, I think his role is minimal in that movie, but again,
He
maybe
has-
memory is easy.
Well, so is Patrick Stewart in the Emoji
Well,
Movie.
okay. Actually,
He humiliates himself so much in that movie, though.
I'd say
I
that
guess-
Abe
I
Vigoda
guess-
has.
he did
Sorry.
choose to be in it, so...
I'd say that
Yeah.
Abe Vigoda has
it's
more of a
gonna be-
notable role in Good Burger than Patrick Stewart did in the Emoji Movie. I guess I'll admit I find Good Burger to at worst be a guilty pleasure, and at best be a somewhat
Angry
decent movie
Titan.
based off of a very popular Nick sketch. I mean,
I
whereas
guess I can imagine it's like a generational thing. People of the specific generation will hate it just as much as people of this more recent generation will not like Patrick Stewart as in the Emoji Movie. I think it's a relative thing.
I guess the difference is that, at least with the Good Burger movie, you can say that thing had a notable fan base, whereas the Emoji Movie, I'm sure it has a fan base, but not really a notable one.
Mm-hmm. Well, everybody, tune in next time where we fight the
Angry Titan, I guess.
the corpse or boss battle, or as I have to call them, the giant locust spider. So,
See you
See ya.
then.
see ya.
Uh,